Shalom, brothers and sisters. This is a brother from the 12 Tribes United. There's a feast that's coming up this Friday night, which is on the Sabbath, the Feast of Tabernacles. Let's see how to keep this feast. Let's see what the Most High says, the law says through Moses to say how we're supposed to keep this high holy day. We're going to go to Leviticus 23 and 34. Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, the 15th day of the 7th month shall be a feast of tabernacles for 7 days unto the Lord. So, the 7th day, for 7 days, we kept the Feast of Tabernacles. On the first day shall be a holy convocation, ye shall do no servile work therein. What does that mean? That the first day, when the Feast of Tabernacles starts, we're to keep that as a Sabbath, as a holy convocation. We all come together, eat, drink, and be merry, and go over scriptures on the Feast of Tabernacles. 7 days shall ye offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. So for 7 days we'd offer an offering made by fire. On the 8th day shall be a holy convocation unto you. So you may read 7 and now you read an 8, but what happens is if you go 7 days at sundown, it equals 8 days. That's why it says that. Don't get confused. So it's really 8 days, 7 days at sundown. And on the 8th day shall be a holy convocation. So on the last day, meaning the 8th day, at sundown, is what? It's another gathering. So the first and last day are Sabbaths. The days in between, are regular days. It's still part of the Feast of Tabernacles, but it's not a day that you have to take off work and so forth and so on. So the first and last day is the Feast of Tabernacles. The first and last day are Sabbaths. Those are the days that you have to take off work, no buying, no selling, but in between you could do that. It says, ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. It is a solemn assembly, and ye shall do no servile work therein. Now, as we read, in the book of Hebrews 9 and in the book of Hebrews 10, it shows you that the Messiah is now our offering made by fire. All right, he is our burnt offering. So we don't have to sacrifice, we don't have to offer up these sacrifices anymore because Christ gave his body, he gave his offering. Matter of fact, Hebrews 9 and 9. Let me just brief that just in case nobody never heard this before. It says, which was a figure for the time which present in, which were both offered both gifts and sacrifices that could not make him that did the service perfect as pertaining to the conscience. So all the sacrifice that we gave, it never made us perfect, meaning it never cleansed us our mind of sins, because if it did, we wouldn't have to offer it anymore. Which stood only in meats and drinks and diverse washings and carnal ordinances imposed on them unto the time of Reformation. So now our sacrifice is the Messiah. Hebrews 10 and 10. By which will we are sanctified through the offering of the body of Jesus Christ once and for all. So this is our offering. Every time you read the word offering made by fire, that offering made by fire is the Messiah. But we still keep the rest of the laws of the Most High. All right, we keep the rest of the high holy day in Christ. So let's go back to Nehemiah. No, let's go back to Leviticus 23. All right, it says, besides offering made by fire unto the Lord, a burnt offering and a meat offering, a sacrifice and drink offerings, everything upon this day. So we just read what that was, and who covered that is the body of the Messiah. Besides the Sabbath of the Lord, besides your gifts, and besides all your vows, and besides all your freewill offerings, which ye give unto the Lord. And on the 15th day of the 7th month, that's the 14th at evening, which ye have gathered in the fruit of the lamb, you shall keep a feast unto the Lord 7 days. On the first day shall be a Sabbath, and on the 8th day shall be a Sabbath. This shows you that the first and last day are Sabbath. The ones in the middle is still keeping the high holy day, but you're not keeping it as a Sabbath. The Most High didn't tell us to keep 7 days as a Sabbath, or 8 days as a Sabbath. So it says 8 days, because it's 7 days complete, which is 8 days. And ye shall take you on the first day the boughs of goodly trees, branches of palm trees, and the boughs of stick trees, and the willows of the brook. Ye shall rejoice before the Lord your God 7 days. So basically, we're to take what? We're to take trees and make what? Booths, meaning tents, from trees, from different types of wood. And ye shall keep it a feast unto the Lord 7 days in the year. It shall be a statute forever in your generations. Ye shall celebrate it in the 7th month. All right, so we're to keep this forever. That means even in the kingdom. And ye shall dwell in booths 7 days. All that are Israelite born shall dwell in booths. So how do we deal with the booths? We get the trees, we get the wood, and we build little tents to dwell in 7 days. At sundown, it makes 8 days. That your generations may know that the children of Israel to dwell in booths, which I have brought them out of the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. So the reason why we're doing this is to commemorate when we was in the wilderness, dwelling in booths. All right, that 40 years. This is why we're doing it. It's a commemoration of us being in the wilderness. Let's go to Nehemiah 8. Nehemiah chapter 8. Because you can use any type of wood. And there's the scriptures that go over, how to keep this high holy day. All right? There's a lot of confusion that's going on with this about this high holy day, how to keep it. It says nothing about you getting no tents from the store. It's talking about building them out of wood. Nehemiah 8 and 14. And they found written in the law which the Lord had commanded by Moses, that the children of Israel should dwell in booths in the feast of the 7th month. It's talking about the Feast of Tabernacles. And that they should publish and proclaim in all their cities and in Jerusalem, saying, Go forth unto the mount, and fetch olive branches, and pine branches, and myrtle branches, and palm branches, and branches of thick trees, to make booths, as it is written. So it mentions certain branches, but then it also tells you thick trees. It's just giving examples of different types of wood. It doesn't say they have to be specifically that type of wood. So the people went forth and brought them, and made themselves booths, every one upon the roof of his house. So some people made the booths on the roof of the house. All right. And in their courts, sometimes they made it in their courts, meaning in their backyard today. And in the courts of the house of God, and in the street of the water gate. So they made them in the street too. And in the street of the gate of Ephraim. So you could put your booths anywhere. You could put it in your house, you could put it in your room, you could put it on your roof, you could put it on your backyard. There's nothing wrong with that. So you don't have to go and live in the woods necessarily, if you don't want to. And all the congregation of them that will come again out of the captivity made booths, and sat under the booths. For since the days of Jeshua, the son of Nun, until that day, had not the children of Israel done so. And there was a very great gladness. And day by day, from the first day unto the last day, he read in the book of the law of God. And they kept a feast 7 days, and on the 8th day was a solemn assembly according unto that manner. So they kept it according to Leviticus 23 and 34 through 43. Ezra 9 and 4. Ezra chapter 9 and verse 4. No, we're not going to go there. Zechariah 14. Zechariah chapter 14. By the way, today is the Day of Atonement. Happy Day of Atonement. All right, make sure you're fasting for your sins and ask the Most High to forgive you. Don't let Satan come in the middle of that and interrupt your joy, all right? Your sorrow. Zechariah 14:16. And it shall come to pass that everyone that is left of all the nations which come against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. So even in the kingdom, we're going to be keeping the Feast of Tabernacles. And these other nations that we're going to have in captivity underneath us is also going to be forced to do this, because our slaves are going to be forced to keep the Most High's commandments. Worship the King. Who is the King? The King is the Messiah, the Lord of hosts, the Most High, and also to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. And it shall be that whosoever will not come up of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain. When the scriptures talk about having no rain, it's not just talking about physical rain, it means no blessing. And if the family of Egypt go not up and come not that have no rain, there shall be the plague, wherein the Lord shall smite the heathen that will not come up to keep the Feast of Tabernacle. So basically, if you don't come up to keep it in the kingdom, you're going to be destroyed. All right? Israel or other nations. It says, this shall be the punishment of Egypt and the punishment of all the nations that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. So if you don't keep it, the Most High is going to destroy you. That's basically what he's saying. John 7. John chapter 7 and verse 1. After these things, Jesus walked in Galilee. What is Galilee? Where Zebulun and Naphtali used to dwell. For he could not walk in Jewry. What does that mean? He could not go to Jerusalem. He could not walk around where all the Jews were, because why? Because the Jews sought to kill him. So if he was to walk around among other Jews, they would kill him. They were looking for him. Now the Jews' Feast of Tabernacles was at hand. So this shows you that it was the Feast of Tabernacles, that it was kept also in the New Testament. All right, so let's summarize everything before I finish. So during the Feast of Tabernacles, which would be this sundown, which would be this Saturday, this so-called Friday sundown, we're to get trees, we're to get branches, and we're to build ourselves a tent. You can have the tent in your house, you can have it in your backyard, you can have it on your roof, you can even go to the wilderness like I do sometimes. But nevertheless, we're supposed to build a tent from wood, from branches. You could also, if you don't want to go grabbing trees and chopping them down, you could also go to a place like Home Depot, Lowe's, get you some wood and build you a little tent. Put some tarp over it, put the holes through it, and put it in your room. This is the advice that I'm giving you through the Spirit of the Most High and the Messiah, his Son. All right? I'm going to say shalom, brothers and sisters. Give us a call, 12 Tribes United, at area code 347-465-1305. We are stationed in the Bronx, but we'll come to your city near you to teach the word of the Most High. All right? Happy Day of Atonement. Get yourself right with the Most High, as I'm trying to do to the best of my ability today. All right. Shalom.